All right, welcome, Stee. How are you, mate?
I'm very well, thank you.
Recovered from the football at the weekend, yeah?
Oh, I'm not recovered. I'm still battling through some injuries, but no, it was great. How good was that?
Yeah, I'm like 47 years of age. I haven't played football in the last 5 years, 10 years properly. And I lasted how long? About, I think, 45 minutes before it pulled me hammy. Yeah. But yeah, we'll get to that later on, my friend. Look, great that you came in. We obviously had that first discussion when we had me, you, Marcelo, you and Sean. I thought that was a really good chat, and I got a lot of good feedback from you in particular about how authentic you were. And I know that was kind of your first podcast you were involved in, but I thought that you thought your message was really powerful and the journey you're on. So we'll be connecting with everybody individually, but I thought it'd be important to have a good chat with you here and now. And obviously, we got to know each other. I spoke about it in the initial podcast because you were battling yourself. You were battling your authentic self. You knew what you were doing wasn't adding value to your life, and you fucking felt like you'd had enough. You reached out to me and kind of asked me what I was doing. You see me playing volleyball on the beach. You see me cutting after a few pints when you go bananas, and I would get out your way and let you continue. And you kind of, obviously, you saw something in what I was doing, and it felt like you wanted a piece of that, right? Mm-hmm. Would I be right in saying that?
Yeah, that's definitely correct.
So what I thought was, if we can touch on, what happened to you, where you are now, and understand, let's unpick, when I talk about the artistry of humanity, let's unpick what's gone on, because it's a really powerful, impactful, speedy change. And I know a lot of people are kind of watching you and getting drawn to you now, similar to the way to me. So when I first kind of, kind of a little bit took you under my wing and stuff, and we started kind of connecting, I think there was one huge light bulb moment for you. It's when we did that breathwork kind of ceremony, deep breathwork ceremony. And I'll never forget the passion that you spoke with when you popped out to that, because I'd come out and, we had this, I had a deep connection, and it was a beautiful experience. And then I looked over at you, and you were like, you were like a fucking man possessed. And I'll never forget, I just sat in front of you while you just unloaded. It was like you had all of these light bulb moments of what you'd been doing, how these behaviours weren't adding value to you, to others around you. And I just want to ask you, what was the realisation for you there? What the fuck happened to make you pop so passionately?
Well, what it was, I guess, was I had been battling for so long with previous things that had happened in my life, where like friends passing, relationships going wrong. And I was really wondering how can I fix this? And I had this just flick of a switch where I just it was like looking at myself in the mirror, and I was like, well, you're not doing the right things, and this is where it's going wrong. You're making the wrong decisions. That's why with the previous relationships it didn't work out, because I was making the wrong decisions. Also, I had when back probably 10 years ago now, I had a close friend pass away from a quite freak accident, and that had really rocked me, and it sort of sent me on this. People say, oh, wow, you're amazing, you travel a lot. But the reason I travel a lot was because of my friend passing, and he didn't have the opportunity to do that. And that's what really motivated me to live my life. And as you see on social media, I've got this pretty hectic life where I love to travel, but it's because I just couldn't settle within myself, because I thought of how Richard at the time, how he wanted to travel with me and he didn't get the opportunity to. And he had so much to offer to life. He was this really good-looking fellow with so much energy, so talented, and it really just was like, wow, we don't know when our time is up, and we really got to live our lives. And with this breath work, it just brought me back, and I seen all of this and all of my past and how my upbringing, and I was like, I need to change. And it just was like a switch inside of me. And as you've seen, I've now just completely changed my life, and it's been amazing. And thanks to the help of having you there, guiding me through, because without you and the right people, I wouldn't have been able to do it.
Wow, so that was a realisation that made you understand the impact of a good friend's passing and what that had meant to you. You hadn't kind of unpicked that. You kind of kept that locked in like a lot of us men do, and didn't release that, it sounds like. Yeah,
for sure. And I think as well, it's probably why my drinking habits became so crazy. Like because when I was partying, I was like, always that people know me as Stephen Fuck It Denny, because I just like, yeah, who cares? Let's go get fucked up.
That's a good nickname.
Yeah, yeah. So, and I think that was probably from Richard's passing that I used that a lot in life. I was like, yeah, you only live once, and I do this.
You gave yourself the excuse.
Yeah, exactly. And it turned into a bit of a bad habit. So, yeah, I've been working on that, but that's why I had to completely cut it out because, as you know, you've seen me in action.
Yeah.
I had to just really nip that at the bud because it wasn't doing me any good.
Yeah, okay, so... Yeah, that was huge. You kind of shocked me, and I thought, "Fuck, this guy's going to help a lot of people." Because I remember you saying, I think some of the words you were saying, like, big realization that you're not operating as you should, and you think you can help people out. You got this real kind of, you just explode as there's so many men in my position that I want to help, and I thought it was like a light bulb for you, and we can get into that a little bit deeper, but. I think it's always good, and I think we briefly touched on it, but I think what we're working on in here, and what I've been working on, is the kind of the Good Men Helping Good Men framework, which is around the 5 pillars of health and fitness, internal work, love and relationships, social connections, and work and life flow. When I asked you to do that rating, looking at yourself, where you were just previously, obviously, you didn't score rock bottom because I've got your kind of score in here. Your internal work and love and relationships were at I think they were at 1 out of 4. Your health and fitness was at 2. Social connections was 2. Work and life flow was at 3 because obviously you love what you do. You got that business One Shot where that beautiful drone business, and that allows you to express your passion through there. So that's great that you've got that pillar filled. But really low on love and relationships and internal connections. And What was it, because as you said, on the external, what was perceived through maybe social media and stuff, you were traveling the world. You were interacting, you were mixing with some of the, very wealthy people, some rich and famous people, traveling the world, what would be perceived as this wonderful, fulfilling life. But your ratings don't express that. Why was that? Why was this... you had all this stuff in front of you. Why wasn't that as fulfilling as maybe you are today?
I guess because what you see on social media isn't really how it is in real life. And I have this sort of a bit of a love-hate relationship with social media because people don't put their true selves out there. Yeah. And you've seen it, I've seen it, and especially when I was on these, these crazy trips with all the lavish things, the yachts, all of that. It was amazing, but there was a lot of stuff that I seen where I was like, people aren't really showing their true colours and they're not genuinely happy.
And what about you during those experiences? So you're seeing all this beautiful, landscape and interacting and parties, and it sounds like you obviously were partying a bit back then.
Yeah.
For me, if your pillars are relatively empty then, so you've got all this external stuff happening. Was that because, as you described before, you were kind of running away from yourself? What was it that was making you unfulfilled despite all of this stuff happening around you?
Yeah, running away from myself and probably not connecting with people on a true deep level, like I am today. I guess I just didn't have that. It's just this life, you're out there living, but you're not really doing the work, I guess. So yeah, I didn't. It was just. Yeah, it was one of them. Don't get me wrong, it was amazing. It was a big long holiday, I guess you could put it. But it was definitely a learning curve on how life is, because you see these people that are, rich and famous, but when you get to talk to them one on one, I could see there's a lot of them aren't that happy. Right. There's a lot of work they want to do, and because they have this, they've got such wealth. They can't, for instance, one of the guys that owned the yachts, he couldn't connect to people because he thought there was people just using him for money. Basically, it was like they want to get to know him because they want something from him. Yeah. And, that was one of the main things I got from that.
Okay, so there's a lot of external validation from people there, I suppose. Now, you spoke previously about, the alcohol problem within your family, which has obviously followed you through. It feels like, I always talk about, as children, we get programmed, right? And then it follows us through to later life. It sounds like that program was kind of ingrained in you. I think you touched on in a previous podcast that I think your dad was a bit of an alcoholic, and did he own a pub as well?
Yep, that's correct.
That's what you were kind of brought up in, around those surroundings?
Playing games of pool at the pub while my dad sunk pints, it was all right, but again, my mum and my dad, I'd like to say my dad was a functioning alcoholic. My poor mum couldn't really handle it as good, but, she spent a lot of time, trying to get better, and that was tough with my upbringing. But she's the person I look up to most today, because she has, she's probably 25 plus years sober now.
Wow.
And that's probably the main reason why I wanted to get sober, because I've always thought, wow, that woman is so strong to do it in the circumstances at home of, surrounded by people that are always drinking, her sons and daughters, and then everyone in the local village. So it's quite hard when you surround yourself with people like that to not drink. So I've always been like, wow, she's got strength. That's the strength I want.
That's amazing. So if you can see that strength in your mum, that's obviously something that's kind of guided you. But you're over here, you have the death of a friend. It sends you kind of running from your authentic self by the sounds of what you're describing. It sounds, because I could see when you came to me, you really was wanting to kick this, and obviously you wouldn't class yourself. I think there's levels of people who take who drink, and drinking isn't necessarily a bad thing. I used to love having 4 pints and having a laugh. I had a sweet spot, and I was like, this is the best. And then after that, it could kind of take its toll. I'd recover the next day, but I might only drink once or twice a week. You might be drinking 3, 4, maybe 5 times a week, but maybe on average, maybe 4 times a week.
Yeah, 4 times a week. But like we spoke about before, just coming here, it's the 4 nights drinking, and then it's the recovery time that goes into it. So before you know it, it's probably half of the year I'm, either drunk or recovering from it. And that's the thing I guess I wanted to change, because, I was having an effect on relationships in my life, and I wanted to correct that. And I just wasn't, that's why I came to you, because I just wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't getting what I wanted from it. And I kept coming to you. You seen me. When we were out, I kept coming to you and be like, I needed to get away from this. And I feel like a lot of people are like that. I feel like a lot of people do think about, because I have mates now that reach out to me and go, they'll have a big night and they'll go, I need to give this up. So I guess with this whole podcast, the people I want to try and reach is the people that have thought about it, because I'm a perfect example. I'm 7 months sober now.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And life is just so beautiful. The energy and time I have to put into the things I love right now is what makes life worth living. It's just beautiful. I go camping all the time. I do all the fun things. And I'm not saying, you have to give up drinking, but I'm just saying to the people that do, who have thought about it, trust me, I'm a perfect example, and there is so much more to life than just drinking your days away.
No, that's beautiful. And 7 months sober, wow, mate, that's fucking awesome. Yeah. Congratulations. But how many... you're obviously thinking about this for a while. Mm-hmm. How many of those Monday mornings at the end of the bed have you been through where you've been thinking, never again? And how many, and what was stopping you from really kicking and really seeing a change through? What was your barrier?
That's a good question. What was my barrier? Yeah, because I had so many mornings, late nights into mornings where I was like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And I think I obviously it was the relationships I had weren't working, so I had a few long-term relationships. So obviously something wasn't right. So I think that's when, when I'd come so close to, thinking I had the right person in my life, and then it would break away. It's like, okay, there's something not right here. I'm not doing... And
then you would go back.
Yeah. So in order for this to change, I need to cut it out, because I've tried so many times. I would do 6 weeks off the alcohol and then bang, go back. And it's as if I was trying to make up for them 6 weeks. I would hammer it. So that was probably my driver, because I just had to make the change, and I did. And then I was like, I remember I'd done 6 weeks off it, and I was like, oh, you know what, I deserve a beer. And then I sat and I meditate a lot now. And I meditated, and I was like, you know what, I don't. My life is really, really good right now. I got my dog, I get away with him. I do so much more now, like so many more activities, playing soccer, with so many more social things to do. So I was like, why? Why would I bother going back? And I haven't, and it's been the best decision in my life.
No, that's really powerful. And that thing you spoke about, it's effectively like a program, isn't it? You kind of... within society, especially where we're from back in the UK, the drinking culture, I think it's everywhere, right? You come through, you meet people, you get on the piss. The party, you get on the piss. There's all this. And it's kind of... I recently kind of went through just asking myself the question. So for me, for example, I didn't drink maybe as much as you. I might drink on a Friday, Saturday, sometimes have a few, sometimes give it a nudge. But during this, I must say, you inspired me. I'm like sitting there and I watched how you clicked. And you were like a fucking man possessed. You've got a camper van, you've got a dog, I'm seeing you cab fire, this, that. And I'm like, I want a piece of that now. I'm like, wow, what is this? So it led me to ask the question, why am I drinking? And it's great, as I said before, 4 pints in, Coogee Park, beach views, with my missus or whoever, catching up with the likes of yourself. I used to love that. And if I did it now, I still would. But do I need that? Is that just a program? Because I enjoy talking to people anyway, you know what I mean? And it's like, so if you ask yourself the first question, usually your ego comes through and it's kind of like, oh, because I have a great time with my friends. No, go past that. Ask yourself again, okay, you've got that. You can do that anyway. Usually if you ask yourself the same question 3 times, you'll usually hit the core, which is, I don't know. I think it's just the program of what I've been brought up around, right? And that's what I've done. So that inspired me to stop completely. I didn't necessarily have a problem, but when I asked the question, I then asked myself another question. Is this affecting me in any way in my life? Looking at my pillars, so social connections, love and relationships, internal work, health and fitness, work and life flow. They all interconnect, right? So I'm like, at any point does this affect them? And I didn't have to look very far because I just went straight to love and relationships, and I thought, how many times have I had an argument which has been big, and how many times has it been related to drink? And it was like 80 or 90% of the time I'd had a big argument with a previous partner or my current partner was drink related. And I think that's because your ego comes through, your authentic self gets blocked because you can't think straight. So then whatever's sitting in you just comes out, and then you pass that poison, and then you start passing poison to each other. And if you're both drunk, that's when it goes into a clusterfuck, right? It's this pass the poison cycle, and you're just harming each other. And I look back at previous relationships, I thought, yep, that was true. But even now, in the love and relationship I have, Katia, beautiful, great relationship, I looked and I think we'd had 2 or 3 arguments over however long we'd been together, year and a half, year, whatever. And I looked and I thought they'd all been drink related. And then, because they become that big of it's a heightened emotional conversation, that can really be detrimental to the relationship. And it's not even the fucking true authentic self. It's not your true, relationship. It's the drink which has clouded you, which is not allowing you to talk as you normally would. Because you kind of say, hang on a minute, what's going on here? And you can have a bit of a calmer conversation. So we only had to look at one pillar. But then it's like, well, let's have a look at the next pillar. When I have a drink on a Sunday and I finish late, how's my training the next day? Pretty shit. I'll maybe do an easy one. I'll do an easy one. I'll have a chocolate bar or something like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it just starts seeping through. Oh, I freaking, I obviously own my own businesses, so sometimes I've got my own calendar. I hold myself accountable to a lot of stuff. I might go, I'll move those to tomorrow. So therefore, I slow myself down and work in life flow. So what I'm saying is, it's all interconnected.
100%.
And that was for me, not. And that's why I say drinking isn't bad. I used to love it. I'm sure at some point down the line, like I did with Mick and Os with my mum and dad, I had a few drinks with them. It was great. I may or may not do it again. I'm not saying it, for me, it's not saying it, it never ever. And it's not, it just, I think people should understand, ask yourself the question. Yeah. And if you're okay with it, fantastic. Ask yourself the question, what's this doing? Is this eating into my, if those are the 5 pillars of fulfillment, which as a human make us happy, is this causing me any problems? And if it is, you can address it. Whether that means cutting back, putting some boundaries around it, or phasing out of your life. And that leads to the next point is, to that barrier of entry to try and change, I think people get caught up in it. There's no other way.
100%.
There's no other way because that's all my mates. We meet them there. We go to the pub, and that's how we connect. But there's another way. And again, I've seen you be like an animal, a monster, popping, doing all of these things. What have you done to, transition? How have you moved from that, which filled a lot of your time and social connections? What have you done to fill that time with more fulfilling stuff?
Okay, so firstly, I want to say as well, when you say about love and relationships, since quitting alcohol, my love and relationships has got 10 times better. My mum, when I talk to her now, she's like, well, you're a totally different person. For example, I went camping this weekend with one of my mates who's a photographer, and he said to me, he goes, Stephen, 1 year ago you were a very different person. I didn't want to ask to hang out with you because you felt very cold. And I said to him straight up, I said, that's because I was probably partying and you caught me the morning after. So that is, love and relationships has gotten so much better because I've gotten more comfortable in myself.
So that's the social connections aspect for your friends.
Yeah.
And into your love and relationships, do you now... So that means do you now understand who you are? Do you understand what you want in a relationship?
100%, yeah. And I'm just straight to the point. I know what I want. And what do I do to fill my time now? Well, yes, as you know, we see my dog all over Instagram. He's my best mate. I learn a lot from him because they don't have much.
Nuts.
He's nuts, but he's just so happy. Reminds me of me when I was
running around.
Yeah, running around the pavilion for happy hour. But he's great, and I fill my time with that, and that's how I want to live now. I want to be in nature more. I want to, I want to try and disconnect from this crazy life we have of technology. It's taken over, and I feel. That's where a lot of people, it's where I've done most of my work, is when I go and I camp out. I've always said to myself when I become sober that I want to be able to be comfortable in my own skin where I can sit and just in silence. Because before I couldn't do it, I needed some sort of alcohol or drugs in my system. Wherever I go, it was like, yeah, that's where now I can sit in silence and I'm very comfortable, and I think that's where I've done the work, and that's where I'm so calm. Like before, I couldn't go on a date without having 4 beers and maybe a line of Coke. That's just how I was. I needed to have this, numb the pain a bit, so I'll go in and I'll be all this. But now, because I've done the work and I sit in silence, sit with my thoughts, which I don't think enough of us do, it's so important to get out there, meditate, be in nature, take time to reflect, because we're so busy on our phones that we don't take time, and these things are such a distraction.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the technology how it divides society is shocking. The statistics, as soon as the iPhone come in, anxiety, depression, suicide starts going up. It's a huge problem that hopefully that as humanity we can get to grips with, and get to grips with quickly. Going back on that love and relationships, now that you've understood yourself more and you were kind of going through, what are you doing to give yourself the opportunity to set yourself up for success? And also not, if you talk about in the past, I think we spoke in a previous podcast that we've all had to accept the fact that we might have affected women in the past with our behaviours. How have you set yourself up, number one, for a successful relationship and to not maybe harm women moving forward?
So I guess, well, I try and understand the situation a bit better. I take time rather than before it's just like, yeah, go and date the girls and it's just another number. Whereas now I take their feelings into consideration. I had been seeing someone for a while. We, just wasn't the right timing. Rather than just keeping it a thing there and maybe potentially one of us getting hurt, we decided to, go our separate ways, because I think that's important. And yes, I guess, like, because I'm a very deep person, I just want to really, get to know the person, know what they want, and if it's not right, then it's not right. You know how it is.
I think that's really important. I know we were talking previously. I think we have just discussed it before. I was looking back, as part of this reflection of this growth journey, you have to look back and kind of call yourself out, forgive yourself, just like you have to forgive others, because it's all about how we grow. But it's how do we behave when we were younger? And there's almost like an evolution for me. It's kind of when I was younger, similar to what you did, you would just do whatever, have flings, wouldn't give a shit what happened to them, move on, it's all about me. The lads say you think you're cool because you've been with X amount of women and you're the life and soul, and look at Ian or look at Stee, and you think it's cool, right? Then there's a realisation, that's probably not the way to go. But still that ego still comes through. And I was saying to you before, I kind of gave myself an out back, when I was single, before I came to Australia and stuff, and it was like, when I'm going to Australia, I'm just going to let these girls know that I'm going away. And it is what it is. So I'm being a good guy because I'm telling them there's not going to be anything here. But we're still having a relationship of sorts. We're still, might be sleeping together, going out on dates or whatever like that, or catching up, whatever it may be. Now there's a realisation. I could see that they were getting connected. And I could see that was maybe hurting them. And I was like, I've given myself the out. But that's bullshit. Because I knew, and if they weren't capable or what they wanted something more, so they were kind of coming. And if I can see that, that's on me to make sure that I don't hurt those people. And I think that's what we're trying to aspire to. And that's what I know sounds like you're holding yourself accountable to now. Because it's not about just absolving yourself of stuff and saying, oh, I'm good, I said this. It's about, it doesn't matter what situation, am I harming someone? And if I am, fucking stop it.
Own up to it.
Own up to it.
Yeah.
And trying to hold yourself to being a good human being is mean you shouldn't harm people, especially if you know you are. No matter if you benefit from it. You know what I mean? And I think, don't give yourself those excuses. And there'll be a lot of people who will kind of go, fuck, yeah, I do that. And it is what it is. But just understand there's levels, right? To try and, if we're trying to grow, and look, we all done it, we've done it. We're not saying anybody's right, wrong, or indifferent. But if you know you're off centre, just try and pull yourself back.
Yeah, that's what we're all about.
100%. Okay, so, I'm a big believer, and as we're saying here, and I'll say it many times, we speak about vulnerability being a superpower. I believe that we as humans are perfectly imperfect. That's the game. You know what I mean? We fuck up, we have to improve, we have to grow, and so on and so on. But I'm noticing a lot of men reaching out to me just from these podcasts I've been putting out, even my family, and I've spoke to you about it a few times, and they're reaching out on the quiet, coming to me saying, hey, this has really resonated with me. People reaching out for a phone call. I've had several chats with people. I've put them onto the kind of framework, and they're like, giving them the quiz, and that gives them the aha moment and the moving. Even in the podcast, I've spoke to a few people I know from the past, and they're going, fuck, this is really helping me. Are you finding that people are reaching out to you as well?
Yeah, for sure. Because at the start, I had to, like I said, I had to cut out friends, but it was more I needed to cut out the scene. Because they're still my friends, the ones that still party and stuff. And I find that, they're reaching out a little more because they're seeing the life I'm living and how happy I am. They're a bit intrigued and they're like, oh, I want a bit of this, a bit like you. And I've said to them, like, the reason I'm doing these podcasts is so people can sort of resonate to my story and maybe it might help them. But I have, like, one of my mates the other day, I went for a walk, a catch-up, and he said, Stephen, without you even doing anything, he said, you're having an impact on me, because when I would usually turn to you for, to go and party, he says, I know you're not that person more, so it makes me think twice when I contact you that I'm coming to you to do good, because I'm not going to be able to party with you. You're going to put me in line. So that's been a real positive impact, I guess. And also, I just want to, I really want to help people.
I know you.
I love like anyone that's struggling, whether it be gambling, alcohol, I've had it all. And I just, like, if I can give some words of guidance, it's a step in the right direction. And like you said, I said to you, I want to try and maybe go to AA meetings, because it was my mum who suggested it. And it was more, she said, go with an open mind. I don't have to go there and preach or say anything, but it might be good to listen to someone's story and it might resonate, and then I can share my, part, and who knows what might come from it.
Yeah, mate, it's all about our story. That's what can help people, right?
Yeah, and putting yourself out there.
No, good on you. And, because I think I told you about, it's funny because even my family, they, kind of, I know my mum, my dad, my two brothers, I've got an older brother and a younger brother. You know, my mum often says they kind of look up to kind of what you're doing, you know, from afar and stuff. And it's funny because even the things that I do, I've had my mum message me, send me a picture of her in an ice bath. She got an ice bath and she put it in the garden and she just gets in this ice bath. She's saying, look, I'm doing things. And it's beautiful to watch. They're looking at the diet and they're doing all these things just because the stuff that I'm doing. So it's adding value to others. And that's all I want to do. And I know that's all you want to do. And what was really powerful for me was my brother Andrew. And I know I'd spoken to you a while back about him. And he's someone who was battling against himself. He was battling against his authentic self. Not happy, probably in relationship, financial restrictions, and a lot of shit going on in his world. And he didn't know how to deal with it. So he was escaping through alcohol, and he was just getting pissed and hammered and spending money and just going off piece, not looking after his family maybe the way he should have done. And it was fucking affecting him. He was eating up inside. And I remember coming to him, having like a come to Jesus call. I got my older brother on the call. That lasted 2 seconds because he's got a temper. So they just, I just said, Chris, get off the call, because they fell out pretty quickly. And then I spoke to him, and I tried to speak to him from the heart with vulnerability and say, hey, I love you, but I see what you're doing and this, that, and the other, and I want to help. But he wasn't ready to hear it, because we all have free will. I just literally seen this ego come in front, and he was like, no, and he was just kicking off. So what was really powerful for me recently, I don't know if it's because of, you know, his own, it's that acorn that builds in people, that seed. And also obviously the stuff that I'm doing, and my mum's sharing it to him and the podcast and stuff like that. And he's reached out to me. And for the first time, he reached out being vulnerable, and he was authentic, and he let it out, and he was, you know, emotional about stuff. And I said to him, you know what, I am so happy that you are speaking to me like this. You know, all that facade I wasn't interested in. This now, fucking beautiful. And I said, if you take a step with me, I'll walk 100 miles with you. And I was so proud of him for coming through. And it kind of makes me a little bit emotional even talking about it. I'm so happy where he is. And he's been doing the work. I'll get my phone out, because he sent me a beautiful gratitude list. And because I've been telling him to, you know, follow the pillars, do these things. And he went from like, you know, he was really low. He was like 5-10%, which is, the, you know, if you talk around the ultimate risk to not being fulfilled, being suicide. Not saying that was there, but that's a risk. He was on that, you know, he was in that risk zone. And then so he built himself up. You know, he was getting towards the middle of the mark and stuff like that. Recently, there's been a few wobbles, but he sent me something last week, and it really fucking hit me in the feels, as they say. So just read this one out. And this is from someone who was kicking off, didn't want to know, he knows best, everyone's full of shit, to then writing a gratitude list and send it to me. And I thought this was really powerful. So my gratitude list: thank you, God and my higher powers, for watching over me. Thank you for my son Max and his confirmation. Thank you for my brother Ian in Australia for giving me hope. How beautiful is that? Thank you to my mum and dad, who still at this age gave me strength and support. Thank you to my children, all 3 of them. Thank you for making me see clearly and not clouded today. Thank you for a new day, a fresh start. Thank you for sobriety. Thank you to Eric, for without him I wouldn't be clean. It's a guy from an AA who started talking to. And thank you for being alive. Peace, love and respect.
Oh, mate. That's just beautiful.
Hey, how powerful is that?
That's unbelievable.
Mate, when I got that brought me to tears, because I was like, that's what it's about.
Changing a life.
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
And if, as I say all the time, if more men would give that open door policy to say just, and it's not about saying, you know, there's taglines, just talk, you know, men talk. No. Let's get deep on it, because let's understand and have a fucking framework out of it. We've got a fucking framework. And then allow people to take the steps. And to see that, for me, it's like, well, and I seen where he was. That was low, rock bottom. And I think everybody has to get to these phases, but they need an out, right? And I think that's why we need to talk like this more, so it becomes more normalized, so more and more people can then think, because people want to help.
Yeah.
I believe that if, you know, most people, if they genuinely reached out, they're going to get you know, as long as the person isn't a fucking arsehole, they're going to get a sensitive ear who's going to want to help them, right? And I genuinely believe that's what's missing today into society. So I just thought I would share that one.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Good on you. That's just so powerful, because how that can also affect the people around him as well, to see that he's changed, you know, and it can help people.
Well, my mum and dad are completely swallowed up in all of this, because he's got 3 kids, and they look after the kids that are around him, and when he's suffering, they're suffering.
Yeah,
and I'm over here in Australia. I can't really do anything from there, and it's not my journey anyway. It's his journey, but it's hard to see. So to see that glimmer of hope, and even though he's suffering, he's being real. He's being fucking vulnerable. Now, if you're being, I'm with you. Let's go.
Yeah.
Now, and I remember I told you that I said when he was getting married, I didn't want to go to the wedding, and I didn't go to the wedding because he wasn't being held accountable for him to change, and I didn't think he was in the right spot at the moment as himself to make that decision, even to get married. That's a different discussion. But I was thinking, well, if this lands, it might help him to change. Lo and behold, 6 months later, he's here, and he is changing. So maybe that was one of the things that added into him thinking, I need to do something.
100%, because at the time I was a bit... I remember speaking to you about it, and I was like, are you sure you're not going to go to your brother's wedding? But yeah, maybe that's what you needed to do for him to take action.
I just wanted to try whatever I could to kind of do so. And he's done it himself, and I'm sure it'll be a collection of shit. And he's got that, you know, he say so much pain, and I say, pick your pain. Which pain do you want?
Yeah.
Do you want the pain of trying to get out of it? And the earlier you start, the earlier you get out of it, or do you just want to sit in here in vanilla land? No decision is decision, and just take the continual pain. So good on him. I'm proud of him.
Yeah.
Really proud of him. Good on you, Andrew. And that leads me to when you spoke about before about having the right people around you. And I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast, incidentally, this morning, and he said, one of the things he said, personalities and energies are as infectious as diseases. Personalities and energies are as infectious as diseases. And I was like, wow, how fucking, that says it really clearly. Because it is. You know, it's like if you go around someone who's that, you're like, it's almost like I don't want to be infected by that disease. And then if you be around someone who is like that energy boost, like energy vampires or kind of energy boosters, you want to get sucked into that, don't you? You want to get sucked into that powerful kind of, maybe not a disease, an infectious fucking boost of energy that you want to be around, yeah? And how important is having a brotherhood for you? You know, how important is it to have like-minded people around you?
It's so important. It's like what you said there about, Andrew having you to turn to. Like, if he didn't have you, where is he going to turn? So it's, like for me, I would have been still doing the same thing. And I think if you want to change, you need to have the right people around you. And luckily enough, I've had you and many other people. And I just surround myself with like-minded people now, and we do lots of cool shit, like go camping, playing soccer, you play volleyball, so it's super important. It's hard though, but like for these people that, like you said, that they live this life, they don't see how, like, it's so hard for them to change because they don't know any better. So I think it's important that, again, it kind of comes from here. When you're able to talk to someone on a deep level, that's when people can change. Because if they don't have that, it's very hard to change because they can't talk about their feelings.
They don't feel safe to open up,
yes,
right?
And I think that's where it comes from. If you're able to open up, because I was able to open up to you and tell you how I really felt and tell you my struggles and what I was going through. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't have changed. I would have held it all in and just turned to alcohol and drugs again. So that's why I think it's super important that you have people that you can connect with on a deep level to let it out, because it's good to talk. Like we said, doing these podcasts, it's like a therapy session.
100%. I always come away lighter.
Yeah.
And Zintan, you touched on soccer there, for example, and that's how you can grow and mix and meet new people. It's like, as I think I mentioned in the previous one, taking my earphones off, going to the gym, talking to people. That opened up friends for me doing that. And that's soccer. You said to me, whether or not I should be playing soccer with my injuries and stuff is a different thing. But I fucking loved that day. A collection of people that we haven't met before, and me and you, instead of going, I don't know anybody, me and you, let's go. You mentioned it to me, and I said, okay, let's do it. Sunday morning, 8:30, on the park, beautiful views of the city behind, sun shining, connecting with a great group of people, no arseholes. I loved it.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Like I said, a year ago, I wouldn't have done it because I'd be like, nah.
I don't know anyone.
Yeah, I don't know anyone. Rather than this time, I went Sunday morning, I was like, my name's Stephen. I was told by a guy to come here and just introduce myself, and that was it. And we had the best morning ever. It was great.
I loved it. But that's what I'm saying. There's another... I always say, get away from the prison of your own mind.
Yeah.
If you want to open up, you've got to get away that kind of male thing of, it's like new kid in the class thing. Just you said, hey, I'm Ian, how's it going? Bang. You'll be surprised. People will just start talking to you because they're in the same position. Everyone's sitting there prisoner of man. It's almost like someone's just waiting to make the first move, even in a friendship.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I think more people do because that's part of what is after this, what is after drinking or whatever you're doing, if you're out of drugs or whatever, and your community is all focused around that. You just got to push yourself, get out the prison of your own mind, push yourself, turn up to things. You'll meet new people, and guess what? You'll go, this person's very much like me.
100%, and think about the people you can help.
100%. And so when you were doing that and when you were going through this kind of phase of growth, did you have that aspect? I think I spoke about my loneliness phase and what that did to me. Did you have a little bit of that? And if so, what did you do to try and combat that? What actively did you do?
Yeah, I definitely had a lonely chapter, as they call it. I guess, like having you and like-minded people around to obviously really drill it home that I'm on the right path, because I think a lot of people, when they're doing it, they're like, am I doing the right thing? I'm losing friends, but I didn't lose friends because I'd done the work, and now I feel like I'm closer than ever to them. But yeah, I did have my moments where I was like, shit, what am I doing? But it was like, again, I had to do the work. I had to get out there. This is why I go camping. I do all that sort of stuff because I had to take up new hobbies, you know what I mean? And it's helped me grow as a person.
100%. The word there is growth.
Yeah.
So if something feels uncomfortable, that's where you grow.
Yeah.
It's like when people struggle to present, right? Now, when I was younger, and I spoke about it back in the day, I remember something that I identified when I was really young. You know, in Liverpool, we take the piss, right? You know, it's a UK thing. My dad used to take the piss. And I remember when I was a young kid getting up to go and dance with my mum on holiday, Puerto Rico, Gran Canaria, getting up to go and dance. I think I might be 8 or 9. My friend there with another family, he gets up with his mum. I get up with my mum. I go to sit back down, and my dad takes the piss out of me. What are you doing getting up with dancing with your mum, you big sissy? Just, took the piss. But that really affected me as a young boy. And it kind of, I stay and not realised. It's only since I've unpicked it and tried to follow, the artistry of humanity, tried to follow, right. And when I first started trying in corporate, you have to present something, panic stations because I was putting myself out. It was only later I realised, it was this. I had to heal this little child wound. Mm-hmm. And I only do that through growth, by pushing yourself through, identifying, pushing yourself through. And now, I do a lot of that for a living. And that's what I'm saying. If it feels uncomfortable, like turn up to that soccer. Even for me, I was like, fuck, I don't know any. Is Stee there? You know what I mean? It feels uncomfortable just walking up to this new collection of people. But for me, every time I feel that, I go, that's the barrier I need to walk through to grow. Yeah. And every time you do that, on the other side of that, I've done the thing that I didn't want to do. Prisoner of your mind. It's like another bar drops, bang, 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 and all of a sudden you'll be clear because we're just prisoners of our own mind. It doesn't fucking matter, and everybody else is in the same shit. Yeah. They're probably a lot of people are just hoping that somebody else connects with them, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, as I said to you before, it looked like you were possessed. When you first kind of kicked, looking at all of these things that you've been doing. How much was drink clouding you? Was it, and like, how dark did it get? How dark did it get for you? When I talk about, I talk about that risk matrix of, I think these 5 pillars can give a real idea of, oh shit, I'm really low, and I a big thing of mine, I'm super passionate about improving fulfillment, and what am I trying to stop? Suicidality, because it's through the fucking roof, right? How dark did it get for you during that kind of clouded time?
Well, look, it definitely had them thoughts. You know, you have a couple of heavy days on the alcohol and drugs, that comes into your mind. So yeah, I had some very dark days. Being by myself as well, it doesn't help. And then you're locking yourself up in your home, thinking, why did I do this? Fucking spending so much money, taking so much drugs, I'm fucking not going anywhere in life. What the fuck is the point? So, yeah, I had some really dark times, and that's why I needed to make the change, because I don't know what the answer was. If I didn't, I may have done some harm to myself.
Oh, well, good on you, and good on you for being, vulnerable with that, because I think a lot of men need to hear that.
Yeah.
We all go there.
Yeah, for sure.
We all hit that rock bottom.
We all have our dark days.
And although we might not say, oh, no, I was never considering that, you don't know how close you are to that, because once you pop, where does it go? And if you haven't been in that position, you might have been this fucking close. I remember looking out at Could You Beach, I said it before, going, is this it? Is this it? You know what I mean? Now, how close was I there? I don't know. But I might have been fucking close. You know what I mean? So it's really important that we understand there's a success equation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you're feeling down, walk the path. You'll get more fulfilled. You'll keep yourself off that kind of naughty steps, so to speak. Okay, so I really like the fact that you've kind of you've identified a new way of operating for you, and we just spoke around there about how dark it gets, and something that I only, since I've been doing this work, I didn't realise, I'm so passionate about fucking helping society reduce suicidality, improve fulfillment. And I didn't even realise, it kind of locked away in my subconscious, that when I was younger, I can't remember, must have been like 18 or 19, my cousin, a great guy called Stephen, he was into bodybuilding and stuff, and he was the guy that got me into training. Not a bodybuilder, but I keep fit. I'm 47. I go to gym every day, and he kind of inspired me. And I remember, and one of the last things he said to me was, I see you've been going to the gym. Don't stop. Keep it up. And I never fucking have, because I always remember that last comment from him. But unfortunately, that was the last time I seen Stephen. And yeah, he actually killed himself. He jumped off a tall-story building in Liverpool, and yeah, I didn't even realise how much that affected me. It's probably part of why I'm so passionate about this, right? And when I look back, and I was speaking to my dad in the past, and kind of looking at it now in his pillars, I can see why.
Yeah.
Because I knew him a bit, and my dad knew him, and I've heard the stories, I could see what was happening to him, but he didn't know. His fucking loving relationships was zero. It was rock bottom. He didn't understand the relationship that didn't work. It clearly ate into all his pillars. He was at fucking rock bottom, and back then, even more so than now, obviously didn't speak, and decided that taking his own life was the kind of, the ultimate answer for him, which I just think is not the fucking answer, right?
No. I could have been saved if we had this in place.
Mate, I think there's so much out there that if people realise and talk and understand there's a framework, they can help. That's why I've said it so many times. There's an answer now. It can happen quick. If the message gets out and these tools are friggin' used, so many people can be helped. And there's so many great people out there, influencers, Chris Williamson, Joe Rogan, Joe Dispenza, Stephen Bartlett. They're all saying all this beautiful stuff. But there just needs to be a strategy to execute for people to walk the path. And at the moment, it's too complex. I've said it all the time. There's all these things. It's too in-depth. One pillar, we go too in-depth. It's overwhelming for people. What we're trying to do is a simplistic framework. Walk, get on the path, get away from the naughty step, which is ultimately suicide, and then you can grow from there. We need this. And then looking back at my cousin Stephen, I'm thinking, fuck, he didn't need to fucking kill himself. He did not need to kill himself. And that's why one of the many reasons why I'm very passionate about this. Okay, I'm very aware of my emotions now. Doing this work, regularly checking myself. I often go backwards. And I was looking at your ratings. I spoke about it before. From 45, you reach 90. I'm sure you've gone backwards. I think when I done mine, I was around 25 when at my lowest. I was up as high as 95. Came back from holiday, discombobulated. When I checked myself, fuck, I've gone back to 80. What am I missing? Oh, I haven't done my walks, I haven't done my meditation. Right, get them, and guess what? I feel better. But I'm so aware of my kind of emotions and regularly checking in. Have you found that? Have you found that now you understand the framework? Do you find that you can kind of go up and down, but you kind of keep yourself more on the top end?
Yeah, 100%. But it's also equally important to have people around me like you, the brotherhood, so you can hold each other accountable. Like we said, we went for an ice bath the other day.
Yeah.
We were like, well, this is the first one in 3 weeks. We usually do them every week. So that's just one area. And yeah, meditation has been a massive one for me. Never used to do it. Used to be like, meditation, what about it? But I think it's super important. It really sets me up for the day. And yeah, going back to the 5 pillars is super important. It's like you really, it's so simple that, you know, when you do it, it just clicks. You go, I'm not doing this. This is why I'm feeling this way. So yeah, it's great. I love it, and it's just so easy and so, you know, so beneficial.
100%. In the spirit of being vulnerable, and I was going to say, when was the last time you cried? The question is, when was the last time you cried and why? But I had to catch myself. I think mine was 2 seconds ago. But when was the last time, you know, because I think it's important that even though people are reaching out to you, even though people are reaching out to me, we still have our moments and we still are affected. And I go backwards and up. I fuck up regularly. And I'm trying to hold myself accountable to a standard which is going to mean that I kind of continue to ascend in growth. And by doing that, I help others around me. And I can hopefully be one of those energy boosters, which hopefully helps people be more fulfilled. Because it's like that smile, you know, you go, morning, people, oh, fucking hell, morning. If you walk around with a snarly face on, that affects so many people. That's what it is. Have you, you know, when was the last time you had a bad moment? Have you had any moments even on this growth journey where you've had to question anything and you've been upset?
I guess like when I was when I hit 6 months sober, I had a bit of a moment where I cried a lot, and it was more because, you know, it was a bit happy and sad because it was like the change I've been through.
Wow.
And how I've turned to God and how he's helped me, like going to church, just, you know, because I feel like all my life I've asked for things and wanted, and now I finally am like, well, I want to give back, and going to church is my way of giving back and saying thank you for placing me where I am right now in life. And that's
beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Huge gratitude moment.
Yeah, I have a lot of gratitude for where I am, because I don't take it for granted, because, you know, I know there's a lot of people out there struggling, and I used to be one of them.
It's funny you say that about gratitude, because I'm one of the people that didn't necessarily understand what it means. It's almost like a buzzword, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, what does gratitude mean for you? And can we kind of simply explain it to people? You know what I mean? What does it, you know, how do you practice gratitude?
Well, every morning it's I count my blessings, and that's to be alive, to live where I live, to have the people around me in my life, and to have that are all happy and healthy, because at the end of the day, that's the number one thing. You got to have your happiness and health.
100%, and it can be as simple as that. And I think it's like, you know, where you focus, that's where, you know, that's your world, right? Where you focus. It's like the old, you know, if you're going to buy a yellow car and you found this yellow car you're going to buy, you'll see 58 yellow cars that day, because that's in your peripheral vision. So you're looking out for it. And for me, that's what gratitude is. It's kind of zoning in what's good in your life, and that's where your energy goes. So you're going towards this, and you're not thinking about the million one things you need to do, or the anxiety monsters creeping up on me because I haven't done these tasks. Or focus on this gratitude. Now, you can use things to drive you, but you can't let it fucking affect you. And that's why, for me, it's like, there's one thing I use. Say I'm having a shit day. And this is the power of the mind and how it can completely change your whole being. I remember when I first day I came to Australia, I've never felt so felt like I was on a Jason Bourne movie. Flew over myself from the UK. I was going to get this job, and this is before I actually got the job. I flew over, working for a big logistics company, and I'd done this week holiday, and I was going to go to the head office and sell myself, and I stepped forward and I was like, this is fucking amazing. I'm in Australia. How incredible is this? And it was this unknown, and it was this unbelievable feeling of overwhelming happiness, which is like gratitude to everything. Boom. And then when I got the job, I went for one meeting, they gave me the job. I was like, oh, my life's about to change again. Boom. Like a feeling I've never had before, because I was stuck in that rut, vanilla land. It wasn't for me. What I was doing there wasn't good, party and this, that. And I was like, I've got this new beginning. And at any time I'm feeling like shit, I can literally go, woof, zone in on that moment, and my whole being changes because I remember it. And then it fills me up, and I'm like, bang. You know what I mean? So you remember a key moment in your life when you just had unbelievable happiness, might be the birth of a child, or William doing something stupid that really, whatever it may be, it can kind of consume your whole being. And I think that's kind of what gratitude is. It's zoning in on those things and going and sitting in it and going, fuck, how good's this? Because it pushes you to be present. Look out of your balcony, if you've got a balcony, or just zone in on something that's fucking great in your life, and it'll soak you up, and it pushes out all the shit.
Yeah.
For even if it's for a few minutes, right?
Yeah, like that's a really important one. Being present. That's massive, because it's something I was never really present. Always worrying about things that you can't control, future, I need to be doing this, and this. But when you actually sit, and that's why meditation's so important for me, because it's like, okay, be in the now, what's around me, where I'm living, really sit in the moment. So yeah, being present's a big one. Yeah,
and that's key. It's because, like you said there about people struggling to sit with themselves. It's confronting to a lot of people, because then they have to deal with this shit. So then they'll run from the shit, keep themselves busy, do this, do that, fucking go to work, get on the piss, do whatever, run away from whatever it is. If you sit with yourself, it'll tell you what you need to do. Yeah. But usually it takes a bit of work, right? And the big one for me is, I think everyone's suffering. Even, we're talking about all this now. We're suffering to an extent because you can't completely control. We're not ascended. We're not Buddha. We're just trying to help. We're trying to improve and hopefully help others come along for the journey. But everybody's suffering. Everybody's suffering because of the program of humanity is, get told do this, get told do that, traumatic events, no matter how big or little, they form this kind of barrier of shit around you, which isn't your authentic self. So once you realise everybody's going through the same shit. But the key to break through is what you just said, being present. Because in that fucking present moment, none of that fucking exists. So as often as you can get to that present moment, is often you give yourself a bit breather from the shit. And once you realise everybody's suffering, just fucking, as much as you can let it go, and don't sit in future or past, sit here. It can be a nice reprieve, even in your darkest times, right?
Yeah.
All right. So you spoke about, your dark times. You spoke about where you go on your journey. How would you describe how you feel today, how you really feel today, and the difference? Because you've touched on the fact there's a lot of people going through, I think there's heaps of people suffering. We spoke about the fact that drink is different levels of drink, and people might think, I haven't got a problem. But if you ask yourself a few questions, it might not be that you have a problem, but you might be able to have a better, more fulfilled life. Choice is yours. It's all good. We all have free will. How are you right now? What's the difference in how you feel?
I would say I'm a completely different person. Like you say, I'm like a machine. I feel like a machine. I'm not going to lie. Because I get to, I've got so much more life in me. I train every day at 4 a.m. I'm just a new person. I just see life differently because I don't have that fog over me that I used to have. Whereas hungover, wasting days. I don't do it anymore. I'm out living life every day now. I'm doing so much stuff, like camping, everything. It's just like whatever I want to do, there's nothing I can't do. It's brilliant. I feel like it's gonna, I don't want to sound arrogant, but I just have so much energy and life. It's great.
No, you are like a new man. I often walk past your balconies on the walk that we do by that dog park.
Yeah.
I see you sometimes on the balcony. It's like, oh, it's the fucking Coogee gorilla up there. 'Cause you're getting bigger every time I see you. And you look like you're really enjoying yourself.
Oh, I am. I just feel so blessed, though. I just feel so blessed to have found you and like-minded people, and just because I was very single-minded. When my party days, I was like, yeah, people that meditate, or they're away with the fairies. That's what I used to think. But now I'm probably one of the fairies. But all joking aside, I do the work, and it's amazing how, I see on a lot of celebrities that have quit, like Bradley Cooper and stuff. I hear him talk about when he stopped drinking, and he's like, it's just beautiful, and it is. My life is beautiful now. I just have so much love to give and love helping people, and anyone that's struggling, I just want to help and see them do better, the best they can in life.
Good on you, brother. Proud of you, and it's great to see. All right, so before we wrap up, something, I often ask. I ask myself sometimes. Sometimes I don't even know what the answer is, but what advice would you give your younger self right now?
I would say to do the work. You got to live out your, probably do what I did and just live my life. But also take people's advice on board maybe a bit better, because listen, because I don't think I did until I really got that bit older, and now I'm a bit wiser. I think having people like yourself or that I'd like to listen to and really mentor me. I guess I wish I had more of a mentor in my life.
Oh,
like
beautiful.
Yourself.
And because I think about that, and you kind of touched on it there yourself. I'm a little bit of a struggler, because it's like, and I said that on a previous podcast, is this the way it's meant to be? And you're meant to learn from your pain. Otherwise, I wouldn't be this human being that I am today. But I definitely think, I would say, don't sit in the pain as much.
Yeah.
Don't sit in the pain as much. And that's the thing I spoke about, present, future. If you're in either of them, that's where the pain comes, right? So if you're in the past or the future, that's where the pain is. Sit in the present. Once it's happened, can you affect it? No, but fucking let it go. It is what it is. Take actions to work around it. And I think so many people will sit for 3 or 4 days running around the same shit. And I used to do it, and it caused me so much pain. So mine would be, I don't know if I'd want myself to shortcut too much, because I would back then. Now I'm here, and I'm like, well, this has made me who I am, right? But I definitely think we could reduce the pain, and I would think just fucking don't sit in it as much. I see, like, my older brother sits in things a lot. Like, I was talking to my mum this morning, and there was something he needs to do. He needs to do some jury duty. Didn't want to do it. It was going to affect his income, this, that, and the other. And he's been moaning about it for a week. And my mum said, well, just do this thing, tell him what you're doing, and maybe you don't need to go on it. Kicking off, and he's been about 50 years old, kicking off, this, that, and the other. Gets to the point, says what he's meant to say, doesn't have to do the duty because he can't because of his work. So he didn't even have the pain, but he's given himself the poison for a week. He's ran around and been angry, probably affected everybody around him, including himself, poisoned the shit out of himself. Never even happened. So for me, it would be just fucking let it go. You know what I mean? Yeah. Let it fucking go.
100%.
All right, mate. Great conversation.
Can I finish up with one thing?
Okay, yeah.
As you know, I sort of journal a bit now, and I just wrote a little something that I wanted to share with you.
Okay.
Because you've changed my life. God, I'm going to get teary here.
Sure.
Here's to Ian, my solid mate, who helped me sort my messy state. Through busted nights and morning rough, he said, come on, you've had enough. No preachy words there to help me find my own. A laugh, a yarn, a beer suggested out. You showed me what life's all about. Now, sober days we take the piss, but I owe you heaps for days like this. Ian, you're a legend, true and true. Cheers, mate. I couldn't have done it without you.
Oh, brother.
Thank you, mate.
I love you. Love you. Good on you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, wow. I wasn't expecting that, mate. I think we'll leave that one there. Thank you so much for being vulnerable. Thank you for that beautiful gratitude note there. It means a lot, and I'm very, very proud of you. Good on you, brother.
Thank you, mate.
Thank you.
I love you.
Fucking, that's beautiful. Thank you, mate.
I hope I read it.